Ryan. Hi, this is Sarah Palin.
Ryan Donald Trump Jr.
Harsh to win seal. Hey, everybody, I want y'all to check out a fellow Marines podcast.
My name is Ted Nugent, and I got a call from my buddy Ryan F. Samuels, and he wants me to tell you that he's a working hard, playing all-American son of a who is celebrating God, family, country.
Welcome to the Ryan Samuels Show, one of the top political podcasts in the United States, where we have a healthy distrust for government and mainstream media. The Ryan Samuels Show is a raw, unfiltered look at American politics. Follow on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. Here is your host, Ryan Samuels.
So at first, this decided to get a lot of media attention, and then later on it did not receive any because they found out that this wasn't some rogue active shooter they could blame on MAGA or some conservative that went awry, that it in fact was a just shootout between two thugs at a festival, which wound up wounding 12 people, 12 innocent people, I might add. And the story just fell off the radio waves. Here is a video. I might have to cut this short. It definitely should. I think it has some gruesome scenes in it. So if you're sensitive to that, please do not stay on here for very long. It's only 20 seconds long. I'll cut it off if it gets too graphic. But this is footage from the shooting.
That's crazy. Yeah, call the hospital. Yeah, you gotta sit down. Hey, we need to call 911 right here.
That was an unfortunate image of somebody who had been shot at this event. So again, massive news coverage, and then nothing, right? So everybody's hanging out at this festival, just chilling. And then all of a sudden, shots ring out. Here is some footage of the sounds. Just unloading at each other with zero regard for anybody else there. Zero regard for anybody else there. This is horrible. It is sad and it is tragic, but this happens every day in this country. This happens every single day in the United States of America. Here is the sheriff from the Toledo Police Department who came out and made a statement about this. Let's hear what he has to say.
Thanks everybody for coming out today. We had some unfortunate incident happen here in Toledo at about 5:37 p.m. We got a report of some shots fired near our Old West End Festival, which is a festival we have every year. Officers were quick to respond. They were right there when the shots were coming out. Appears as though there was at least two shooters. I think they were probably shooting at each other. And what ended up happening was 12 people were struck with bullets. That's what we have right now. Two of them critical. We're processing the scene. We do have some evidence, and we're following up on some leads.
They have no idea who these people are. No idea. Two shooters shoot 12 people. This is days ago. Two shooters shoot 12 people from the ages 14 to 61, critical condition. I don't have any updates of whether or not any of them have been deceased or not, but I'm certain that's going to come based on the conditions we're getting reports of. But the police have no idea, right? This is a crowded festival. Hundreds of thousands of people there. People saw them, but nobody's talking. This is what happens in these lower income communities when violent crime happens. As a police officer, I experienced this. Nobody's talking to anybody about nothing. And then they complain about the environment that they live in.
It's pretty active right now as far as the investigative part of this goes. The scene itself is secured. Matter of fact, I think we're just about breaking down the scene right now as far as the initial processing. Does anybody have any questions?
Do we have suspects
Yeah. Can we find these people?
in custody?
No suspects in custody right now. We're still very early in the investigative process.
It's a code word for we have no idea.
I might turn this over to our investigative lieutenant, Lieutenant Dan Gherkin. He can probably answer some of those more specific questions as far as the investigation goes.
Yeah, as the deputy chief said, it's real early in the investigation, right? So it's been 3 hours. We're talking to multiple people, including victims, witnesses. We're reviewing camera footage. We're doing a whole lot of stuff that I can't sit here and tell you everything that we have or what we're going to have, because I don't know what we're going to have. All right, so we're way early in this for the questions about what we have or who we want caught. All right, I'm going to tell you, I'm feeling good about where we're at right now, but we're going to need the community's help when the time comes. A bunch of people were out there that can probably help us with our investigation. We'll take all the information there is.
Nobody's helping.
We had extra officers on duty today for the festival, plus there was a large contingency of off-duty officers that were working for the festival itself. We had our mobile security cameras that go right into our real-time crime center active. So there is a lot of evidence. It's just a matter of going through a lot of that evidence. It happened very quickly. But it also stopped pretty quickly because there was a lot of officers that were right there.
To be clear, and they're kind of, it's not their fault that they don't have any leads, right? And I'm not picking on the officers. That's not what I'm doing. It didn't stop because the officers were right there. It stopped because it was over. And they ran away. Because if it stopped because the officers interjected, then they would know who the suspects are. So they have no idea. Somebody shot off a bunch of rounds, ran away. 2 people shot at each other a bunch of rounds. This is what they're saying. We don't know that for sure. That's what they're assuming. 2 people were firing at each other, and a bunch of people were caught up in the crossfire.
Officials, being that this was supposed to be a day of jubilation and fun, to be spoiled by something like this, any message to the community?
Well, yeah, it's just a shame, when a few people, for whatever reasons, going through their head, decide to disrupt something that has been a beloved community event for many, many, many years. We had the security in place just so that something like this wouldn't happen, and unfortunately, best laid plans, it happened anyway. But those are things that we have to kind of do when we're going to dissect what happened and who was responsible.
Blah, 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 blah. We have no idea, right? That's what's happening with this story. They have zero clue as to who done it, what's going on, where they are, the suspects. They might have some ammunition shells. I'm sure they do, or they have some ballistics. I'm sure there's some camera footage that they're going over. I hope that they catch them. But these people are still at large. This is like days ago, like 2 or 3 days ago. And they have no idea who is who, where they are, right? That's number one. Number two, No conceal and carry people interjected. And there's a very specific reason for that. Practically in any state you're in, if you have a conceal and carry permit, or if you have a concealed weapons permit, or just a weapons permit in general, when it comes to city events, parades, farmers markets, fairs, you're restricted from carrying there for most of the time, right? It's effectively a gun-free zone. Unless you're a Yahoo and you want to run around and shoot your boy because he's talking about your mama, which seems what's happened here. But the Toledo Police Department have no leads. The Main Street Press have just completely dropped this entire scenario because they found out it was not some white MAGA supporter. So now they're just done covering it. Here is one of the initial Action News 13, their local news channel, discussing it.
News starts now with breaking news.
Why would somebody do something like this? It's just it's horrible.
And to see random people getting shot is crazy. Like,
what happened today is not a reflection of what our city is and what we stand for.
And welcome into 13 Action News. I'm Claire Mitchell. As we come on the air at this hour, we have breaking new developments on the gunfire at a Toledo festival Saturday evening. We heard from Toledo city leaders after a mass shooting at the Old West End Festival. Officials say at least a dozen people were shot. Those with the Toledo Police Department tell us no arrests have been made. City officials held a press conference bringing us up to speed on this investigation and what we know about the victims so far. Our team has been staying on top of this incident for several hours, trying to get you more information. 13 Action News anchor Kevon Dupree was at that press conference and is live with what we learned. Kevon.
That's right, Claire. It was supposed to be a day of fun here in the Old West End, but that excitement turned to fear when multiple shots rang out and left several people injured. A day of celebration turned violent in Toledo's Old West End neighborhood.
At about 5:37 p.m., we got
says two people started shooting at each other while festival goers were nearby.
What ended up happening was
and people got caught in the crossfire. That's what happened, right?
City is and what we stand for. And so we are hoping.
This is the mayor.
I know in my heart that footage is out there.
What happened today is not a reflection of what our city is and what.
Look at these people walking around.
What we stand for. And so we are hoping that as a community, we will come together and get this solved quickly. There has to be a tone set early on, with summer just starting, that this type of behavior will not be tolerated.
Now, once again, there are currently no suspects in custody. TPD says anyone with information, please come forward and share that with them immediately. As far as the festival taking place today, now Sunday, there's still a decision to be made. Claire?
All right, and Kevon, thank you. You can watch that entire press conference anywhere that you stream 13 Action News. And you just heard him there talking about what's going to happen for the rest of the weekend. We've actually just learned that all the Old West End Festival events planned for today, Sunday, have been canceled. The festival public relations chair, Daniel Finkel, sending a statement saying in part, quote, "We are heartbroken about those that were injured at the Old West End Festival. Many people."
Nobody's talking. Nobody's coming forward and saying, I saw this guy shoot at this guy. There were dozens of people around. There were so many people around, 12 of them got shot in less than 3 seconds. And nobody sees anything. Nobody knows anything. Nobody's reporting anything to the police. Why is that?
Welcome back, everybody. 20 minutes to the top of the hour, and there's a manhunt underway right now, days after a shootout at a popular street festival in Toledo, Ohio. At least 12 people were hurt there. Nick's following this one closely for us. And Nick, police say those suspects were shooting at each other at this festival. Everybody else was just kind of, caught in the crossfire. Any leads on finding those who are responsible?
Marquis police believe that they are gaining some ground and finding out who might have been responsible, but it's just another example of a community celebration interrupted by violence. Good morning. Police say no one has been arrested, but they are making progress in finding the two men they say were shooting at each other Saturday night. We have to warn you that some of the video we're about to show you may be disturbing to viewers. Police are asking festival goers for photos and videos of the scene to help with their investigation. At least 12.
Look at all of these people standing around. There's no videos of these suspects anywhere.
People were hurt. The victims range in age from 14 to 61, and hundreds of others ran for safety after shots were fired during the Old West End Festival.
The fear and the hate that I saw in that crowd, it was quite scary.
Just a scary situation. Just to be knowing that somebody that was running next to you got shot and you didn't. My heart goes out to his family, him. I hope he's okay.
And this was the scene so many of the witnesses were seeing. Police say officers were working the event and responded immediately. One witness spoke with News Nation and said there had been a small fight at the festival earlier in the day. And while he was shocked by the number of people injured, he wasn't surprised by the violence.
We had seen like the fire trucks, we heard all the sirens, it was multiple ambulances coming out, and we had walked past one of the victims laying on the floor, and there was blood coming from his leg, and all I could do was just shake my head and just pray that he has a really good recovery.
You know, witnessing these things while still trying to find safety for themselves. Shortly after the shooting,
the governor makes a statement. This is the violence. The only reason this happened to hit the national news is because all these people got caught in the crossfires. This happens every single day in the United States of America. This is a daily event in Chicago, New York, Atlanta, Jacksonville, Florida, where I used to be a police officer. This is a daily event in these massive inner cities. We're going to continue to follow this story, but we had some breaking news today that Donald Trump had put out on X. Excuse me, he had put out on Truth Social that one of our Apache helicopters had been shot down over the Straits of Hormuz. Now, this is what he had to say. I have just been informed by our great military that last night the Iranians shot down one of our highly sophisticated Apache helicopters while patrolling over the Strait of Hormuz. There were 2 pilots involved. Both are safe and uninjured. Nevertheless, the United States must of necessity respond to this attack. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Now, Donald Trump is in a very tough situation with this attack. The administration is close to coming to a deal with the Iranians, right? That's what everything we're being told. We're on the way to our deal. No nuclear weapons on the table. We're getting there. What this effectively has done is it's kind of set back the negotiations, because now the pilots did not die, thank God, right? Both of the pilots are alive. That's great news. It's incredible news, actually. It's very hard to survive being shot down, especially in a helicopter, but we do have the greatest military in the world and the best trained pilots. Trust me, I know. But now Donald Trump is stuck in a very precarious situation. Number one, we're in the middle of peace talks. You shoot one of our helicopters down. That's a problem that he needs to respond to. Number two, the Iranian war is very unpopular, not just with the left, but with the right as well. Donald Trump ran on a campaign, no new wars. We're not spending money with other countries. And now he's in office, and he's effectively giving Israel a ton of money and assisting Israel in fighting Iran. I, for one, believe that that's a good thing for the United States of America. However, I'm not every voter. So from a political perspective, he has to be very careful with his response. His response cannot be so overwhelming that it prolongs the war, because he wants the war to end. The Republicans have midterms coming up, and historically, it is not looking good for the Republicans right now. If the Republicans lose the House and lose the Senate, it's just going to be, Donald Trump is going to be a lame duck president for the rest of his presidency. It's going to make it harder for J.D. Vance to run and win in 2028. and it's going to put the entire MAGA movement and the MAGA momentum at a slowdown. So he has to be careful. Had these pilots gotten killed, he would have had to respond. So my projection of what Donald Trump is going to do is something along the lines of nothing. Okay? He has to get this war done. He has to get this thing settled. He has to get our people out of there. He has to get the straits open. He has to get gas prices down before the midterms, or there's going to be a shellacking at the polls if he does not. Okay? Here's the initial report of the Apache helicopter that got shot down and how it was rescued with a new technique. Let's watch this.
We learned that an Apache Army helicopter had crashed off the coast of Oman. That's the same sort of region as the Strait of Hormuz. We later learned that the 2 crew members had been rescued. But this is the first time they were rescued using an unmanned surface vessel, a drone. This is a Navy drone called the U.S. Navy Corsair, and it was developed under Task Force 59, it's called. This is an organization, a group or department specifically tasked to develop these drones in order to, in this case, rescue individuals without having to put other U.S. personnel at risk. So this is the first time that that was used to rescue U.S. personnel in a conflict. They were taken to safety. They were then helicoptered out. We understand they're in stable condition. This is the first time we've seen a drone in action in the safety and rescue of U.S. military personnel.
So essentially, the only thing that was hurt was the helicopter. The pilots are totally fine. Apache pilots, specifically Apache pilots, are incredibly well trained. They know what they're doing. SEER school is not a joke to get through. Survival and evasion school, where they do certain things to you that your mother would not be happy that they were doing. Okay, they know how to swim. They know how to deal with being shot down. It is a very large focus of their training. So, but the unmanned drone is interesting, right? It's basically a remote-controlled ship or submarine that went out and picked them up. Now, that could easily go bomb things and not put our people at risk. The United States military is getting stronger and stronger by the day, by the minute, by the war. Every time there's a war, they get more funding, they get more technologically advanced, they get more experience, and they just get better and better and better. The United States military, it continues to impress me ever since I got out of the Marine Corps in 2005. So this is very precarious and very sensitive, and Donald Trump needs to make sure that he treads very, very lightly with it. Here is Donald Trump. I believe this is the video of him being notified of it. Let's hear what he has to say.
There's a report that an Army helicopter went down in the Strait. Can you give us an update on that? Are the soldiers okay?
The pilots are fine, yeah.
And what?
Nobody injured. We are going to issue a report tomorrow, but the pilots are fine. We're very close to having a very, very good, strong, powerful deal. If we go and bomb, which we can do very easily if we want, and we spend another 2 or 3 weeks bombing, they'll have nothing left whatsoever, but you won't have the strait open for months. If we do the bombing, you know, a lot of people are going to be killed. Who wants to do that? I don't. And we'll have a signed document that's actually stronger than doing the bombing. What has proven to be a very powerful thing is the blockade. The blockades turned out to be much stronger than bombing. And it was really a combination. It was our initial thrust and then the blockade. But, you know, their economy is really suffering, and they're going to make a deal.
Precisely. He has to make this deal. If he didn't have to make this deal, Donald Trump would be throwing everything he had at them for shooting down the Apache helicopter. Period, full stop, end of discussion. But he's not going to. He's going to do something. He has to. You can't just shoot down an American helicopter and get away with it. That's not how society works. Okay, you don't get to shoot down millions of dollars worth of American equipment and get away with it scot-free. Here is a ABC News report. Let's listen to what they have to say. I have not watched this.
Well, President Trump is blaming Iran for shooting down a U.S. Army Apache helicopter and now vowing to respond as necessary. The president sharing the update on Truth Social, confirming it was Iran that downed the attack chopper near the Strait of Hormuz yesterday. Fortunately, both pilots aboard are safe and uninjured. ABC News learning they were picked up out of the water by an unmanned surface vessel and brought to land. So what does this mean for peace talks? The president was just saying he's hopeful negotiations with Iran are still on track, suggesting an agreement could come.
Iran is a problem. Okay. I have to say this. I have to get this off my chest. Iran has been a problem for decades. I'm a veteran of the global war on terror. I was an infantry Marine from 2005 to 2010, 03-11. I was with 3rd Battalion, 2nd Marines. Iran is a problem. Okay. Iran is the last bastion of terrorism that exists on earth for extreme Islamic terrorism. Not everybody in Iran, but that's where the terrorists are. And they've infiltrated the regime. Iran used to be a beautiful, wonderful country back in the 70s. They had go-go girls. They were wearing boots and skirts, and then all of a sudden, the Islamic fundamentalists got into power, and now they're all wearing... the women are covered from head to toe or they're being stoned to death. That's real. That actually happens in Iran. So Iran is a problem, right? Iran is had a lot of power. Their biggest mistake was October 7th with Israel, because Iran controls all these terror cells around the Middle East, or they did, right? They control Hezbollah. They control Hamas in the Gaza Strip. They control the Houthi rebels. They control all of these groups. They fund all of these groups that would make attacks on Israel or attacks on the United States. There's certain funding to Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda and 9/11. And they are the last thing that the United States of America and Israel has not completely and utterly destroyed since 9/11, right? It was on the menu. I know that for a fact. After we took over Iraq, the plan was to take over Iran. That was 100% on the menu. It was discussed at the highest levels of government with President Bush and Colin Powell. It was the plan. But Iraq was such a friggin' crap show that they didn't clean it out as clearly and as crisply as they were supposed to. Had we taken over Iraq, took out the entire regime, replaced the entire regime, occupied it within 90 days, 100 days, we were going to Iran, right? It got held up with the calamity of Iraq. And Afghanistan, still a problem, but they don't have international power problem like Iran has. They don't have the ability to produce a nuclear weapon like Iran has. So Iran is particularly dangerous to the world, and it needs to be dealt with. The way that Donald Trump is dealing with it, in my opinion, is the best way possible. We're limiting American lives being put at risk. Iraq was a disaster. We lost thousands of Marines, soldiers, sailors, airmen, Coast Guardsmen. Everybody lost a life. The way he's doing it is without boots on the ground. And he's taking out critical people and critical infrastructure and applying pressure points until they comply and until they come with a deal. So when the left sits here and screams and says, well, he ran on no new wars, is this a war? Depends on what your definition of war is. To me, the United States Navy and Air Force dropping bombs on a country is not a war. It's a conflict. Dropping in American troops and putting boots on the ground and running skirmishes and clearing houses, that's a war. Because if bombing of places in the 2026 is considered a high-end war, then Barack Obama engaged us in more wars than anybody. If Bill Clinton had bin Laden in a tent ready to bomb him, would that have been a war before 9/11? Or is it a conflict? Iran has to be dealt with. It has to be dealt with. It has to be humbled. It has to be the fundamentalists, religious Islamic extremist fundamentalists who would invade your home, kill your wife and child, make you watch, then kill you, and celebrate need to be dealt with. I'm sorry. But I'm not sorry. But Donald Trump needs to focus, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's not getting emotional. He's not getting principled. He's looking at the big picture, and this is the best thing about Donald Trump. The big picture is to get this war over with, to get people to stop dying, and to get Iran to fold and submit to the United States and Israel, which is what should be happening.
1 or 2 days from now, Iran and Israel are still holding their ceasefire following this weekend's dangerous escalation with Hezbollah in Lebanon. Let's bring in our White House correspondent Karen Travers and senior Pentagon reporter Luis Martinez for more. Luis, President Trump was saying a report would be issued. Is that what he's referencing when he says Iran is responsible here?
It likely is, Andrew, because he did say that there would be more details to come, and we've been seeing these details come out piecemeal throughout the day. What we do know now from the president is that it appears that this Apache helicopter was shot down. The question is exactly where or when, but what we have learned is that a first-of-its-kind rescue took place in that a boat drone, if we can call it that, an unmanned surface vessel, was sent to pick up the 2 pilots after they had landed in the water. And the new detail that we have, Andrew, is that the 2 pilots were then able to board this boat drone, which then took them off to another location in the water where they were then plucked and hoisted up by a helicopter that took them to a safer location. And we should point out, all of this happened during nighttime. In the middle of the night, around 4 in the morning local time, as this helicopter, normally accompanied by another helicopter, would have been operating together. And then we know now that this boat drone was able to pluck them out of the water. Now, if you're hearing about this capability for the first time, we should point out that the Navy has had a task force in place for the last 5 years, where they've been growing and growing substantially by dozens now, if not more, these autonomous surface drones that gather intelligence and surveillance that is used by the Navy.
Let's go to Karen now. Karen, how is...
I hate when they release this stuff. I don't want to know about that. I don't think anybody should know about our military capabilities, or at least a very small amount of our military capabilities they should know about. But they should know that we have the capability of sending unmanned drones to pick up down pilots, because it insinuates that they have the capability to do other things like spy or kill you. I want them to think we can't reach out and touch them, but we're like AT&T. All right, let's finish up this video.
Is the president responding to all of this?
Andrew, in that social media post where he said that it was Iran that shot down this helicopter, the president says that the United States, quote, must of necessity respond to this attack. Now, he is not specific on what that means, how and when the United States would respond, whether that's militarily or through some other means. But Andrew, when you look back over the last week at some of the comments the president has made about his red line for starting major combat against Iran again, it has shifted. We saw him say last week it would be deaths of U.S. service members, which of course did not happen here. And then over the weekend, the president said that if he didn't think he could make a deal, or if it wasn't coming together quickly enough, then he would consider restarting those major strikes. Now, the president, though, at the same time, has also sounded very hesitant to go back down that route. Last night, when he was talking to reporters, he talked about how costly that would be in terms of financial costs to Iran and other countries in the rebuilding, but also in the potential of human lives lost. So all indications were that the president did not want to go in that direction and restart major
military operations. But in this post, because of the taking down of this helicopter, the president saying the U.S. will respond. He just isn't specifying yet how and when.
He's going to use this to his advantage in negotiations. Donald Trump is going to turn around and he's going to tell Iran, you screwed up. And you're going to come to this deal or I'm going to wipe you out. I'm going to kill all of your leadership and then I'm going to deal with whoever rises to power. And if I don't like what they get, I'm going to kill them too. Because he's smart. He's going to use this to his advantage in negotiations. That's what I would do. I'd be on the phone with whoever it is, and I'd say, listen, I have an entire Pentagon who is furious that you tried to kill our service members. And if I tell them to go ahead, they're going to take out everything you love, know, and have. All I have to do is say yes. I want to avoid that. So why don't we come to a deal, and why don't we put this whole thing to bed and put it to an end? Because I have all the support in the world to come at you. You tried to kill Americans at a time where we weren't supposed to be killing each other. Let's listen to this Fox News report.
The big question is, what comes next if the president says that the U.S. is going to respond? The U.S. military did make a first-of-its-kind rescue with it.
I love the fact that we're talking about this. And we have the USFC Octagon behind the White House because they're getting ready for a private, just men beating each other like halfway to death show at the White House for the elite. I think it's like gladiators, right? Just had to point out how awesome I think that is.
An unmanned drone boat to rescue the airmen. President Trump adding that the U.S. is going to respond to this attack in kind. We don't know what that means at the moment, though. Senior White House correspondent Peter Ducey with the read from 1600 Pennsylvania. Peter, what do you got?
John, it probably means that the president is about to order something big in Iran be blown up. We know a couple days ago he was in the Oval Office and was asked if a red line for restarting a hot war against Iran would be U.S. troops being killed. And he said that would be a good reason to resume military operations. There were no U.S. troops killed here, but it seems like Iran was trying really, really hard to kill U.S. troops because they did shoot down an Apache helicopter. We've got the president's post. He says, I've just been informed by our great military that last night the Iranians shot down one of our highly sophisticated Apache helicopters while patrolling over the Strait of Hormuz. There were 2 pilots involved. Both are safe and uninjured. Nevertheless, the United States must, of necessity, respond to this attack. This is brand new. We had been told over the last couple of hours that an Apache was down and that an operational first for the U.S. military was using this drone, this water-based drone. We've got some info on it. It's a 24-foot-long...
Everybody's obsessed with this stupid drone. You should see some of the technology. You should see our nuclear technology.
ASV, autonomous, the U.S. Navy Corsair. It's got a 1,000-mile nautical range and 35-knot top speed. We don't know.
Yeah, give out its top speed, give out its range, tell the world the capacity of our systems. Go ahead, Peter Ducey. Tell the world the capacity that the United States has and its limitations. Jesus. A little operational security would be nice.
Exactly how the drone contributed to the search, but it is credited with helping save these guys' lives as they were plucked out of the Strait of Hormuz. And we would expect to hear more from President Trump about exactly what the appropriate response is here, but it's definitely going to delay any kind of a final peace plan.
He can't do that. The midterms are in November. The way the polls are now, they're going to get smacked. It's not looking good for the Republicans.
A U.S. official tells Fox
dragging out this war that everybody hates on the left and the right into midterms is a problem. It's a problem for the Trump administration. It's a problem for your gas prices, your fuel. That's really what the midterms are all about. It's always the economy, right? Not necessarily the economy, but how much your grocery prices are, how much your gas prices. It's $3.50 here and now. It was like $4.50, $4.80. We're down a little bit. We're down at 350. But he's got to get it down in the 2s if he wants to have a good midterm election. Mark my words. It's not going to be pretty if the gas is up. Now, the other problem that we're having with the Trump administration now is they are being a little bit overconfident with the redistricting ruling in the Supreme Court that came out in their favor. Okay. So if you don't know, basically for years, it came out that the Democrats were gerrymandering. They were picking their little maps and drawing it in to guarantee votes and take and seize power. It's something we're seeing in California. We covered it a little bit last night. But tonight, we're going to talk about that's a major win for the Republican Party, a massive win for the Republican Party to get it back to fair elections and fair votes. Totally for it. That does not mean that you should take that win and sacrifice it with other losses by prolonging the war and keeping gas prices high. Donald Trump did do a temporary waive of the federal tax on gas prices because that's how important it is. But you can't make the mistake that that little win is going to cover up for this big loss. You got to take that and add it on to your other wins, or you're going to have a problem. Here is CNN. Here's Wolf.
It comes as President Trump declares the war with.
This was posted 6 hours ago. Let's listen to this.
It comes as President Trump declares the war with Iran could be over within days as the two sides come closer to an agreement, but President Trump has also made similar declarations about the war at least 37 times
Look
before.
at his face.
So let's go.
Look at his stupid face of Wolf Blitzer. He looks like a dog that you just smacked his nose for peeing on the carpet and took his toy away. And he doesn't understand why it's wrong to be on the carpet. Look at him. He's so upset. Oh, Donald Trump's going to make a deal with Iran in a couple of days. That doesn't look good for us. How can I turn that into a negative?
It comes as President Trump declares the war with Iran could be over within days as the two sides come closer to an agreement, but President Trump has also made similar declarations about the war at least 37 times before.
37 times. The war hasn't been going on for like years. It's been going on for months. Yeah, they're close, but the problem is that Iran is full of so many fundamentalists and religious fanatics that sometimes pressure turns them into resolve, right? So because they have their God that's backing them into making the decision and they're willing to die for it. That's the problem with these Islamic extremists. So it takes time. It takes pressure. Yeah, they're close to a deal. They're close to a deal. Then all of a sudden they don't get a deal done. That happens all the time. Go to any car dealership and talk to a sales guy. See how close they are to a deal 100 times a day, and then the wife comes in and says, man, we can't afford it, and they move on with their life. Doesn't mean they weren't close to a deal. They were very close to a deal if that one incident didn't happen. 37 times.
So let's go live now to CNN senior White House correspondent Kristen Holmes. So is this time any different, Kristen? I think that's the bottom line question here.
Yeah, and I'm really glad somebody finally took the time to count out how many times, because It felt like we were saying it every single day. And now I know it was at least 37 times in the last 2 months since the ceasefire began.
It comes as President Trump declared.
I just love Wolf's face. That is so funny. It is freaking hilarious.
The Truth Social
But the Iran war continues. And hopefully we can get it resolved, right? Ryan, you're being way too critical of Trump. Okay, first of all, stop it. Just got a comment here. I'm not going to say who it was. I'm going to be critical of Donald Trump. That's my job, okay? If I believe he's wrong, I'm going to point it out. I'm not even saying he's wrong, right? His son, Donald Trump Jr., came on this show and endorsed this show. And him and I had a conversation that's not going to equal unequivocal support of Donald Trump. I like Donald Trump generally. Are there things I disagree with? Yes. Anybody who agrees with anybody 100% of the time is lying to your face. So yeah, okay, I'm being a little critical of Donald Trump. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be critical of anybody. That's the whole point of the press. But thank you for your comment. If you want to call in, go ahead. 561-786-2916. You can clarify as to what you're talking about. But I don't think you will. So Donald Trump, the midterms are going to be a problem. We're gonna stay on it. We're gonna focus on it. We're gonna keep an eye on this Toledo thing. I'm not sure exactly how they cannot find these suspects in this short amount of time, or how so many people witnessed it, so many people got shot, and nobody knows who did it or where they are or what they're doing. Okay, it's concerning to me, like for sure concerning to me. Here is Pete Hegseth making an announcement about the Boy Scouts. Let's check this out. I haven't watched this. This just popped up. I've not seen this. Let's listen to this.
For more than a century, Boy Scouts of America prepared over 130 million American boys to make moral and ethical choices, not just during their formative years, but for a lifetime as they grew into men. The first few words of the Scout Oath exemplify this. Quote, "On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country." The Boy Scouts are embedded in our communities. They're sponsored by community organizations, service clubs, and churches. Many Boy Scouts have gone on to senior leadership positions in their communities, in business, in our nation's military, and as elected representatives in local, state, and national office. 6 Boy Scouts have been elected President of the United States. 11 of the 12 men to walk on the moon, Boy Scouts. Boy Scout training focused on responsible citizenship, character and leadership development, patriotism, personal fitness, self-reliance, faith, and a wide range of outdoor skills.
So I kind of have a feeling where this is going, even if I have not watched it. The Boy Scouts have been infiltrated by the radical left. I went shopping. I have a farm, right? So I was at Tractor Supply, and I'm walking in, and there's a bunch of female Boy Scouts there, right? It's a bunch of lesbian Boy Scouts there. But it's the Boy Scouts, right? But the Boy Scouts has finally come to a place where they're allowing LGBTQ+. You have troop leaders that are women, all right? That's for the Girl Scouts. Go to the Girl Scouts, sell your cookies, which are amazing. We need the cookies. We have to have the cookies. The cookies are the best, okay? If we don't have Thin Mints, we don't have a free America. But that's the whole point of the Boy Scouts. It's for boys. But somehow that was misogynistic and fascist, and then we need to infiltrate that, and they want to destroy that, because that is the foundation of good masculine men being produced for our society, and the left hates that. Right? The Boy Scouts were coincidentally started during World War II. We could get into that. I have a little bit of knowledge on that. Coincidentally started around the time the Hitler Youth was started, but ours obviously had many more positive ambitions than the Hitler Youth did. Let's see what it would. You know, the Secretary of War is making an announcement on the Boy Scouts. I'm really excited to see where this is going.
It was a great program, and this department had a close relationship with the Scouts almost since its inception, as many troops meet on military bases. After 2012, however, the Boy Scouts lost their way, and a once great organization became gravely wounded. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, crept in. The name was changed to Scouting America. Girls were accepted. The focus on God as the ruler of the universe was watered down to include openness to humanism and earth-centered pagan religions. Scouting became an organization that no longer supported and celebrated boys. They even welcomed the destructive myth of gender fluidity and transgenderism to infiltrate their membership. Along the way, standards were lowered and merit destroyed in favor of an insidious, radical, woke ideology that is anti-America and anti-American. The result, membership cratered. Americans didn't want this. In 1970, 10 million boys participated in Boy Scouts. Currently, less than 1 million boys and girls participate.
I would love for my son to be in Boy Scouts, but I would never put him in an organization like that. That's completely lost their way. Would you?
Further, many of these community organizations that once supported Scout troops, they withdrew their support. And Scouting America, the parent organization, filed for bankruptcy protection. The changes Scouting America made since 2012 have also jeopardized the relationship with this department. And I was very seriously considering ending our support of Scouting altogether. We have a department to protect, after all. Beyond that, the policies Scouting America have in place violate President Trump's Executive Order 14173, entitled Ending Illegal Discrimination and Restoring Merit-Based Opportunity. But before making this big change, I decided to meet with the current Scouting leadership to convey our deep concerns. Based on that face-to-face conversation and subsequent conversations, Scouting America agreed to make several key reforms. And let me briefly highlight a few of them. First, Scouting America has agreed to comply immediately with the provisions of Executive Order 14173. This includes reviewing and replacing politicized, divisive, and discriminatory language throughout the organization, programs, and all publications. No more DEI 0. Second, the, quote, Citizen in Society Merit Badge that encouraged Scouts to explore diversity, equity, inclusion, and identity. They always mask it under a name that sounds great, but it's doing something else. And then asks those Scouts to engage in activism on those topics. That badge has been discontinued.
Let's go.
Third, Scouting America will modify its policy to make clear that membership will be based solely on biological sex at birth and not gender identity.
Let's go.
That means that the application, any application, will have only 2 sex designations, male and female, and the application must match the applicant's birth certificate. Scouting will also make clear that biological boys and girls will not be allowed to occupy or share intimate spaces together. Toilets, showers, tents, anywhere like that. Fourth, Scouting America will
Scouting America should eliminate girls from Boy Scouts.
honor those who serve by waiving the registration fees for children of active duty, Guard, and Reserve families. Should have happened a long time ago. Fifth, in partnership with the War Department, Scouting America will introduce a new military service merit badge. These and other changes that Scouting America's leadership committed to, in that room right over there, will hopefully result in a rededication to the foundational ideals that have defined Scouting for generations: duty to God and country, leadership, character, and service. However, as President Reagan famously said, trust but verify. This agreement is new, and the department's support for Scouting America is contingent on them making substantial progress toward reaching these and many other positive changes in the next 6 months. At that time, we'll vigorously review progress and decide whether or not to continue our support. The onus is squarely on Scouting America to deliver. If we're unsatisfied with Scouting America's progress toward and commitment to the agreed upon reforms, we will find them in violation of the President's executive order and cease our support. We hope that doesn't happen, but it could. Ideally, I believe the Boy Scouts should go back to being the Boy Scouts, as originally founded, a group that develops boys into men. Maybe someday.
Yes.
There are also additional youth and boys organizations, groups like Trail Life USA and Awana clubs, that are already compliant with President Trump's executive order.
I love how he dropped that out there. Like, I wanted to go back to the Boy Scouts, and I know you do too. So what you need to do is go to these other organizations who are already in compliance. I love that. I love that he did that so tactically.
Department may eventually support as well, but we're watching, and we're watching closely. We look forward to providing you with updates after our 6-month review, and wish the best to Scouting America.
The Department of War has spoken. You cannot be a lunatic and join the Boy Scouts, or the Department of War will not support you. Shelley says, ours did Awana. That's kind of cool. I don't know about that. Shelley also said it's sad. I look at my dad's scouting stuff and it's all changed. My grandfather, dad, and uncle were Eagle Scouts. No, we did not put our son in Scouts. Yeah, I didn't put my son in Scouts either, particularly because of that. I'd love to put my son in Scouts. You know, I would love to have him share that. And, you know, I don't think you're alone, Shelley, because I think a lot of family legacies, you know, your dad was an Eagle Scout or your kid was an Eagle Scout. An Eagle Scout was like the greatest thing in the world. I remember when I was on Parris Island, I was in the Marine Corps. And I found out, like, on day one, if you were an Eagle Scout, you automatically got promoted. You went in, everybody went in as a private, and there were certain things you'd maybe get PFC, private first class, as an E2. One of them was like, oh, you had a bachelor's degree. Oh, yeah, E2, right? But if you were an Eagle Scout, E2. And I was like, man, I was never in the Boy Scouts. I wish I did. I would have been one of the last generations, but I don't think you're alone, Shelley. I don't. I think generations of people have it's been severed and destroyed by the left, and that's exactly what the left wants, because that's exactly what the left does. The left doesn't build anything. It only destroys existing things. They build nothing. They destroy what's great and prosperous because they're not jealous. They don't want it. They're envious. They want to destroy it. And that's the difference between jealousy and envy. If somebody is jealous of you, right? They like your car. They want your car. They go out and buy a car like yours. They're jealous, or they try to steal it, right? They want what you have. Envy is something different. They're envious that you have this car, so what do? They slash your tires. There's a fundamental difference between jealousy and envy, and that's what the left is. The left is envious of the American dream, what the right loves, Judeo-Christian values. One man, one woman, 100 children. It's the way it should be, and that's what we're getting back to. Thank you so much for tuning in. This was a great show. I appreciate everybody's participation and coming in night after night, supporting the show. We had a ton of people on today. I didn't get to everybody's comments. For that, I do apologize. But thank you all for tuning in. We will be in tomorrow again at 9 p.m. Live. I have not discussed what the show is going to be, but I will make an announcement tomorrow on Facebook. See you then.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ryan Samuels Show. Don't forget to like, share, and